This one we call Lemurian infinite, because my belief is any stone that comes from Madagascar is Lemurian in nature. The energy's different. Almost 80% of the vegetation in Madagascar is indigenous to Madagascar. You know, the people there, the stones and crystals there are unbelievable.
And now you mentioned picking up stones in New Mexico, Madagascar. What about, are there places in Illinois or Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana where we can pick up stones?
4.5 hours from here is the largest geode in the world. And it's a little island in Lake Erie called Put-in Bay. Cheryl and I went there right after Katrina, and it was for her birthday. And this is another synchronicity story. I was given 2 tons of selenite, which is another mineral. This is just part of the story. I had it in my van. We drive to Port Clinton, and we take a ferry across. And it's raining like mad. You couldn't see anything, but out of the mist, this island appears. You know, I felt like we were going to Avalon. It had this energy. We get there, and we stay that night at a bed and breakfast. Was 105 years old. The island is 1 mile by 3 miles long, and there is a winery there called Heileman's Winery. In 1897, they were drilling a well to get water, and they hit an opening, and they lowered this guy in with a torch, and inside was a geode about the size of this room. It's 50 feet into the earth, and you can go there and go on the tour. Well, when we were there Monday, and it was raining like mad, and we asked the guide if we could stay and meditate. He says, no problem, no one's here. So Cheryl and I were able to meditate. He came down about an hour later, and I asked him, do you know anybody in the neighborhood who might have some celestite to sell? He says, talk to the manager. I go upstairs, and over in the corner, I see selenite. So when I'm talking to the manager, I said, I see you sell selenite. How do you do with it? He says, fantastically well, but I can't find a supplier. I've got 600 pounds of selenite in my van on the mainland. I said, you know, would you like to trade? He says, yeah, come in here. He traded me the celestite.
Do you have do we have any celestite here?
No, no. I'm sorry. I couldn't bring the store.
Yeah.
But
approximately how many pounds of gems and stones do you have in your store?
well, I have a warehouse too. So in my store, I probably have, maybe a ton, 2 tons.
And
Warehouse,
what's the biggest stone or gem you have?
The largest gem I have, well, I have an amethyst geode about yay tall.
Huh? And how wide?
That's about this wide. And then I have a citrine geode about this big.
Now, do you sell those? Or
yeah. Well, I have a store. I've had a store for 17 years now.
Well, we both know Dawn Silver,
Yeah.
Formerly of Healing Earth, and some stones she would not part with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You don't have any favorites you wouldn't part with?
Well, right here.
What's so special about that?
This is an 18-pound quartz crystal skull.
It didn't come out of the ground looking like that.
About 8 years ago, I had a customer named Gene who bought a lot of great minerals from me. And he asked me if I could find some skulls from him. And I was not interested in skulls. And I found 3 in one collection: a smoky quartz, a quartz crystal, and a citrine. When I got the 3 skulls, this was one of them, I became attached to this one. And I told Gene, I can't sell you this skull. He said, I can understand that, but if you ever want to sell it, call me. Well, 2 years later, I ran into some hard times and couldn't pay rent. And all of a sudden, Gene waltzes in the store and makes me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I sold it to him. Fast forward to 2006. I get a call from a guy in Oregon telling me his brother died, left a large collection of skulls. Would I be interested in purchasing some? I said, it wasn't Gene, was it? He said, yes. So in March 2006, I went down, saw, this skull is called Shar, saw Shar, and I ended up buying it. And at the same time, I saw another skull, which I call Big Daddy. It's a 67-pound quartz crystal skull. I couldn't bring it here today because I brought the small car.
67
yeah,
pounds?
yeah.
How big is it?
Yeah, it's that big.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that when I saw it, I didn't touch it. A friend of mine was with me. He said, it's really nice. I get back to Chicago, and all of a sudden, the other skull is calling me. And I had to have it.
Yeah.
I got possessed. I've got to have that skull. On July 23rd, 2006, I became the caretaker of one of the largest skulls in the world. 67 pounds, about this big, like that. And I meditated with the skull, and I asked, what do you want to be called? And it screamed at me, Star Sirius. Well, it just so happens July 23rd is the day that Sirius is closest to the Earth. Mm-hmm. It's the day it opens.
Did you know that when you...
No, I didn't know that. And later I talked to my soulmate Cheryl, and she mentioned that was the day. And Sirius is closest to the Earth for 55 days a year. Now Sirius is in the constellation Orion, and it represents the dog. Have you ever heard of the dog days of summer?
Sure.
That's when Sirius is closest to the Earth for those 55 days. And yeah, I will have, Star Sirius is at the store. People can come in there, and when you put both hands on it, you're making a connection. It's unbelievable. It's like, I equate when I was a little kid, like in Cub Scouts, we made this thing called a crystal set, and you got these little earphones, and you move the little crystal on this thing,
Sure.
you point on it, and got a different channel.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you touch Star Sirius.
Now, there's